Welcome to this episode of the Growthcast. It is me, Jackson Campbell, joined here again with Dallas Pruitt.
What up? What up?
For another extended cut episode. We're not going to do a weekly review this week. We're going to dive in on a specific topic, the topic being habits of highly effective people. I'm really pumped to talk about this one. Dallas gave an amazing company-wide training this past week and talked about these principles, talked about these habits that highly effective people have and that they acquire over time to be able to become these highly effective people. So Dal, let's dive in here. I don't know if you want me to read the list and then we'll dive into each thing, or if you want me to turn it over to you. Yeah, go ahead.
You can read through the list in just a second. I just wanted to preface it, all of this by saying that in a prior, career path, I was turned on to Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People through a program called the Leader in Me program. And I was able to serve as an administrator in a school, low-income school. And these were habits that were integrated into the school's systems, behavioral systems, and also the community, parents. And they were a complete game changer for this particular school that I was able to serve at. And I've seen the benefits of them in the classroom, hands-on, through behavior modification systems that were designed through myself and a team. And just in my own life, been able to reap these benefits by putting a microscope on them and really dissecting myself and refining myself through them. And I'm just grateful for people like Stephen Covey, man. I just wanted to give a shout out before I jump in. I do not claim to take credit for these habits. There's 6 that we'll cover today. I've tweaked the names of these habits and kind of modified them for what it is we needed as an organization, and what I believe we need as a network and a community. But just wanted to preface everything by saying that. So
no, dude, awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so these six habits that we're going to be diving in today are proactivity. We're going to talk about being proactive. We're going to talk about create twice. Very great principle, and I'm excited to dive into that one. Prioritize. We're going to talk about prioritization. We're going to talk about the principle of seeking to understand, principles of team and mission focused, and renew and re-energize regularly is the 6th principle. So Dal, let's start. Let's dive in here on being proactive. I'd love to get some actionables as well on how we can implement these principles in our life for sure.
Cool. So if you could trace all these habits down to like a central location, like a central root, like the very first point of growth of a highly effective person, I would say being proactive is that central starting point.
Totally.
Focusing on and acting on what you can control and influence instead of what you can't influence, or instead of being reactionary to life as it happens, to problems as they arise in your life. The best solution, I wrote this down. This is a Dallas Pruitt original. The best solution to any problem is to do something about it long before it ever becomes one. And I love living my life that way, like anticipating or having really good vision about the types of problems that arise in all the sectors of business and life, things that I'm a part of, that I want to thrive in, and then building designs, proactive systems in my day-to-day that don't allow for those problems to come to the surface, attacking those things long before they're ever even an issue.
Totally. I love this principle, proactivity, and what it's done for me in my work and in my life. But it's really interesting because about being proactive it's going to seep into all these other principles that we talk about. It's almost like every one of these other principles that we talk about is talking about a way to be proactive in a certain way that's going to help you in these other principles.
Yeah. Stephen Covey even goes as far, and I don't remember how it was worded exactly in his work, but it was basically like if you can't master this habit, good luck mastering any of these other habits.
Yeah, absolutely.
The root of habit is being proactive.
Totally. I guess that's what I was trying to get at, is if you really can master proactivity, these other principles and habits that we're going to talk about become a lot easier. And it's a lot easier to be able to handle these things. I love proactivity, is so important. And it comes into that second principle so well, which is create twice. talking about visualization. Oh my goodness, visualization.
There we go. It's early in Maui, friends. It's early in Maui.
It is. No worries though. No, so go ahead. I'll dive into creating success twice.
We inserted as an organization, I decided to insert the word success in between there, right? Like the habit is to create twice, and it's really just a kind of a creative play on words so it sticks. But really what we're talking about is like create success in your life by taking advantage of one of the best tools you were given, that you were blessed with. Is a gift. It's your brain. It's like your brain's this supercomputer that can create algorithms and memory and just familiarity and all these things through visualization, right? And it's like, I even gave you the example in the training of, when you get really good at creating mental success, right? Like going through the mental process first of visualizing success as it will unfold in the future, right? What ends up happening is you get into situations and it feels normal. It doesn't feel foreign, which is awesome because that familiarity helps you to make better decisions because you've got better vision about the processes and the steps and the next steps and the adjustments that are possibly going to be required of you. And you just become a better decision maker, a better builder, a better doer, all these things because you allow yourself to focus in the right area mentally long before you ever get into sticky situations.
Totally. Can I just share an example?
Yeah.
I actually did this yesterday. I practiced this principle yesterday. One of the responsibilities I have right now on the investment side of Multifamily Capital Partners is I help set up for these webinars that we do. We do webinars every other week or twice a month to talk to our investors, to inform them on current market, whatever's going on in the market, current opportunities that we have. We do these webinars twice a month, and I'm here in Maui, so I help Tyler get set up. And there's a lot of steps to getting set up. We've got lights that we bring out that we set up that need to be placed in a certain way so they're not reflecting off the presenter screen or they're not reflecting off this. There's 2 screens that I have to set up, one for Ty's notes, another one so Ty can see the webinar and see the chat and see what's going on. I also got to go over audio. I got to make sure the audio is all dialed in so everybody can hear Tyler during those webinars. I got to make sure the video is up and running and connected and we got good internet connection. So there's so many of these steps that I have to do every time that I go to set up for one of these webinars. And yesterday I was a little bit pressed for time. Yesterday, there were some meetings that kind of backed up that went a little bit later than I expected, and I needed to set up for this webinar. And instead of panicking and just trying to set everything up at once, I took 5 minutes. I took 5 minutes before I started setting up, and I just thought through each step of setup. I thought through, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do next. This is the next step. And then and it just made it so much easier for when it was time that as soon as I was done visualizing, to be able to go and set up and already understand what those next steps are. So that's just an example of using visualization that was able to help me. And I was able to get set up early and I was able to have time to be able to really dial in things and really make sure things were good. And I wasn't pressed for time at all, turns out. So that's my example of how it helped me a ton. But also I want to give an actionable and a challenge to everybody that doesn't visualize, that doesn't necessarily practice this principle, to take 5 minutes before you do any task. We all have our tasks list and we all have our tasks that we're trying to knock out during the day. Before you start each task, take 5 minutes to visualize how you're going to finish this. And accomplishing it's going to be a lot easier if you take that time to visualize.
It's worth the time. Some people are in such a rush. They think they don't have time for that. And it's like you have all the time in the world to go through that because it will save you time. It will save you time throughout your day. Another actionable that I tack on that before we move into the next one, man, is just visualize a successful day within the confines of what it is you're trying to accomplish. Visualize a successful day regularly. Do it regularly. Reflect and project, the right type of process within what success looks like for you in the day. Be really detailed. Provide some specifics. Have a process, have a mental process so that you can go out and actually produce the physical process that much more efficient every single day. And you'll get better and better at it the more you practice it. So
totally. I didn't recognize this when you were giving your training, but each one of these principles really leads into the next one, which in that next principle is prioritization, right?
Yeah.
To prioritize, the importance of prioritizing. Go ahead, Dal. Dive in
Yeah.
there.
First things first is a phrase that Stephen Covey uses. And the questions I would ask is, what are those first things for you? What do you care about? What are you doing to tend to those priorities? I love this quote from him. It says, putting first things first means organizing and executing around your most important priorities and keeping those things in check. It is living and being driven by the principles that you value most, not by the agendas and forces surrounding you. We lose our priorities real fast if we're reactionary, right? Like we lose our priorities so fast. We get lost in the shuffle of all the millions of different things to be doing. And you really have to go deep and ask yourself, like, what actually matters? That's like the best question. What really, really matters with my life, the work that I'm doing, the responsibilities I've been given and I've chosen? What really matters? And really get good at focusing in on that regularly and not focusing in on everything else, weeding that stuff out.
So good. Yeah. So good. No, there's not really a ton to add there because of the importance of prioritizing. Dal, how does, as an actionable for this habit, how does somebody identify their priorities? I know we kind of just talked about it, the most important thing. How does somebody, I guess, identify the most important thing?
Yeah, well, what you do most throughout a day, stop and think about that. Those are your priorities, whatever you're spending your time on. Now, the next step is to be real with yourself. Are you happy about that? If you're not, draft up a real list and start making some adjustments, because a lot of people just aren't real with themselves. They say that they have priorities, but their actions speak way different. So if you want to know what your priorities are, reflect on how you spend your time every day. And again, if that is something that creates dissatisfaction or you feel unfulfilled or unhappy about that because it doesn't align with what you tell yourself is your priority, then it's time to draft up a list and change the way you utilize your time and energy every day.
That's such a good actual. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks, Dal. Thanks for pulling that one out. Awesome. Next principle, seek to understand, then be understood. Love this principle. Go ahead.
I'm really passionate about this one. I actually think this is like ground level work, foundational work for any great leader. I believe that the best leaders are the people who have a deep understanding of those they lead, and what it is they're asked to accomplish or do, the mission they're on. Influencing others by developing a deep understanding of their needs and perspectives was the definition that I used in our training. And developing a deep understanding of other people is not easy. It's hard. It requires some hard conversations. It requires courage to ask the questions that maybe other people won't ask. Those conversations are laced with a lot of really better questions. They're deep questions of the soul, man. It's hard. It's again, also like the core habit to any great leader. They know their people. They know the mission. They are well versed in both of those areas. And because of it, they are able to lead better because they know the direction. They know the drivers and they know how to push the right buttons and motivate from the right place and lead from the right place, which is love, dude. When you seek to understand people, you grow to love them more for who they are and who they can be. And the best leadership comes from a place of love. And that core principle that produces an increasing, amount of love for other people is figure out who they are, figure out who those people are. And I love this one, man.
Love this principle. I think one of the things I brought this up during the meeting, and I definitely want to share it here as well, is when we're seeking to understand, we're also putting aside our personal agendas and our personal thoughts of what we think should be happening or what we think needs to be happening, right? When we really seek to understand another person, whether that be a spouse or a loved one or a child or a friend that may be going through something, or you're not seeing eye to eye on a certain specific topic, or whether that's in the workplace with a leader or a coworker or a quote or another teammate, is to make sure when you're really trying to seek to understand somebody, you can't let your personal agendas and your personal thoughts and feelings and perspectives of whatever the situation is come into tatter that whatsoever. You really have to put all that aside to be able to really understand where they're coming from. And then when you do that, at that point, you really can understand what it is and where they're coming from, is when you take that emotion out of it.
Yeah. Dude, it makes me think of, like, you have this similar experience. I was part of an opportunity where I was able to go serve as a missionary in a foreign country. Yeah. And in this mission that I served, they were actually transitioning from this old model where, like, you would rehearse lessons and then go through a sequence. It was like, and they were very valuable principles. They were very, like, impactful principles for life and God and staying on the path, like all the things, that you need to be able to be successful. But it was a sequence. It was like you'd show up and it was like 1, 2, 3, and you go through the sequence. Well, that wasn't a very impactful way in many ways to address the needs and also understand who people were that you were looking to help. Right. And so they made this transition. Luckily I was able to be a part of this transition where, dude, your job was to ask questions. Your job was to go in and really gain a deep understanding of who it is you were coming in contact with and what their pain points were, man. Yeah. And what
they needed. Yeah.
And that's just leadership 101, dude. Like, you want to lead people, they need something, right? Like, everybody needs something. And it's your job to ask the right questions and see them with big eyes so that you can really gain a deep understanding of who they are. And then once you have that, it's so much easier to make decisions on what to do and how to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So an actionable that, no, I loved that. An actionable there that we could pull out for this principle is to have, if you need to have conversations with people, to have those conversations, but seek to understand, not to be heard, seek to hear what it is from they are, because a lot of times you're able to resolve or be able to come to a conclusion on whatever may be happening in that situation. So no, definitely. That's the actionable for that one. Awesome. On to the next principle. We're starting to wrap up here. Team and mission focused. Go ahead.
Yeah. So some of the questions were like, we're all part of a team. We're all part of, a family dynamic, if that's the team, or you're part of an actual business team. Most of the people who are listening serve at some capacity on a business level. Right. And so one of the questions I put on here with team and mission focused to help you become more team and mission focused is to ask yourself who the stakeholders are, right? Like, who's the leaders of this mission? Like, who created this? Where did it start? What's that vision? We've experienced that firsthand with MFM. And I've experienced it firsthand with other teams and other organizations. The first question is like, what's the vision? What's the mission? Who are these stakeholders making these decisions? And then it's your job to come in and become as team and mission focused as possible. So the next question you should ask is, okay, I am unique. I have my own skill set. How can I add to this? Like, how can I be a piece to this puzzle to add to it? What is needed for the team, for the mission to thrive? Not what do I need? That's not a good question. Not what do I need? It's what do they need? How can I add? Right? Me doesn't work with team and mission focused, right? Me doesn't work, but we does at a really high level. So developing innovative solutions that leverage differences and satisfy all key stakeholders, that's how we become everything that I just explained. That is how we become more and more team and mission focused. One of the things that I repeat to myself as I leave my house, and I think I've mentioned this before, as I leave my house every day, I look at this picture in my house, and it's a trigger for me to tell myself, this isn't about me. It never was, and it never will be. So go out and do a great job for others. And that is just a good trigger to put me in the right mindset, in the right frame every day as I go about the work, and collaboratively, that's where we really make true magic happen. Individually, like, yeah, you could do some phenomenal things, but like, what good are those as one person,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Actionable there that we could pull out. What do you think, Dal?
Yeah. Put your ego in check every day.
Yeah.
Put your ego in check every day. Find some trigger like mine where you leave and, you anchor yourself in selfless work, not selfish work.
Yeah.
Because our egos are strong, dude, and they will trickle in if we don't have systems to put it in check and smother it. And so, whether it's for me, it's a picture of Christ. That picture is a picture of Jesus Christ, dude. When I walk out of my house, I look at it and I remind myself. For others, it could be something completely different. Maybe it's a mission statement from the team you actually work with, and you've got it posted somewhere, and you read through it and you remind yourself, like, oh yeah, this isn't about me. I'm just one part to this big, huge whole, something.
Totally. No, that's great. That's great. Definitely. Such a good actionable. Check yourself. Check your ego, see what it is. Yeah, man, it's just it's really, as you're talking, Dal, what keeps coming up in my brain is like staying grounded in the team that you're in, right? Obviously we want to do better. We want to always contribute more, but also always stay grounded in what your position is and strengthen where you stand. Is what just keeps coming to me as we talk.
How about this? Don't shoot for title, dude. Like, don't shoot for title with whatever team you're working with, and don't shoot for a title. Don't let that be your aim. Don't let titles be your aim. Don't let money be your aim, dude. A life of service, let that be your aim, and like figure out how to navigate that at the highest capacity and put your skill set to work and your gifts to work. With that type of perspective, like, hey, I want to live a life of service. And as opportunities arise, like I'm going to take them if they allow me to grow as a person and give me new experiences and help me get closer to my desired end state. But like, when you catch yourself getting caught up in crap of title and money, like those things become a byproduct of people who serve at a high capacity for the most part. Yeah, every once in a while somebody gets into a spot that they're just jerks. Like, don't let that be you.
Yeah.
Don't let that be you, because those people are unfulfilled. Those people are unhappy. Those people are not, quote unquote, successful just because they have a title. So don't let titles and money be your aim. Let those things be byproducts of a life of service.
Yeah.
And approach life with that type of philosophy, and great things will happen.
Yeah, no, that's gold. That's gold. Great. No, that's great stuff. If you didn't hear what Dallas just said, or you weren't paying attention, definitely rewind and listen to that part. Oh man, so valuable. Awesome. Dallas, we wrap up here with this last principle that is renew regularly. It's a great one to end on. Go ahead. Dive in.
Yeah. And this was to wrap us up. As leaders, Todd Miller, one of the founders here at MFM, he really put it really well on Tuesday. He said, as leaders, sometimes I think we give this vibe of like we look down upon renewal, right? Or like as high achievers, sometimes you almost look down upon yourself if you renew. You go do something for yourself that's outside of the realm of like moving the needle with the business and the goals. And, and it's like, that is so far from the truth. That is a trap. That is false. Do not fall into that belief, right? A lot of the times that's just your own diluted perspective. You got to change that perspective. You have to change that about yourself. And as a leader, you've got to make sure the people you lead understand that that's a value. That's a value. That's something you value, right? It's a part of the process. It's a crucial component to the process of growth. And so, it's the way you increase energy and gain some harmony, is by going out and doing some renewing activities. Some questions here to ask yourself is like, what are you doing to re-energize? Are you doing anything? It doesn't need to be a big grand vacation to Hawaii for 5 days. Literally little things every day. you should do and implement into your daily system so that you can renew, re-energize, and be ready to roll and recharge that battery. Because guess what? A happier you is a much more productive you. So the invite is just to charge the battery and every day so that you can be more productive for the people, again, that you are looking to help every day.
So valuable. So valuable. Dallas, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you so much for diving through these success principles of highly effective people. So Dal, is there anything else you want to add here as we wrap up?
No,
we covered it.
I'm just going to mic drop. Bam. That's it.
No, I love it. I love it. Dallas, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom here and for putting together such a great episode today. Definitely, if you haven't left us a review or rated the podcast, definitely take some time to do that today. Share this episode with those that you think could benefit from it. This was a very, very, very good episode. So I definitely expect some shares out of this one and definitely encourage some shares from this episode. Dallas, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jax.
Everybody listening, thank you so much for your support, your love, and for being here and listening. We appreciate you and we love you guys a ton. So if you guys have any suggestions or need anything from us, please reach out. You can reach out to me directly if you want to, Jackson at themultifamilymindset.com, or you could reach out to Growthcast at themultifamilymindset.com and we'll make sure we get back to you. Dallas, thanks again, my brother. Everybody listening, thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day, weekend, whenever it is that you are listening to this. Take care, y'all.